Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste friends. Team Param Vedanta welcomes you all to DISHA 39, a new series of an inward journey to discover our inner strength and happiness through Bhagavad Gita. We are going to begin study of chapter 9, and today we will take up the first 3 verses from 1 to 3. Dr. Gautam Divakar will take us through these verses. He will also throw light on 6 Vedangas as explained in Tattva Bodha. After the talk, we will have a teaching quiz session by Srimati Nilima. Now it's shloka time, and we have Srimati Smita to chant and explain the shloka of the day. Smita, please.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. This is a Guru Dhyana mantra. Dhyanamoolam Gururmurti Pujamoolam Gururpadam Mantramoolam Gururvakyam Mokshamoolam Gururkrupa Mokshamoolam Gururkrupa. The meaning goes like this. Dhyanamoolam Gurur Murtihi. Dhyanamoolam, the root of meditation, is Gurur Murtihi, the form of the Guru. Puja Moolam Gurur Padam. Puja Moolam, the root of the worship, is Gurur Padam, the feet of the Guru. The Guru, one who dispels darkness. Mantra Moolam Gurur Vakyam. Mantra Moolam, the root of mantra, is Gurur Vakyam, that is the word of the Guru. Moksha Moolam, the root of liberation, is Gurur Krupa, the grace of the Guru. Let's all be blessed with the grace of the Guru. Hari Om.
Thank you, Smita. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. We begin the study or the revision study of the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is very similar to the 7th chapter and very different from the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. As we will recollect, the 8th chapter dealt with Saguna Ishvara Upasana and Krama Mukti. The objective of Lord Shri Krishna is that we work for Sadhyo Mukti in this life itself. And so you will see we come back to Sadhyo Mukti, the path of self-inquiry, Vedanta, Vichara or Jnana Yoga in this chapter itself. People normally think Nirguna Ishvara Jnana is too difficult to achieve. But in this chapter, Krishna says he uses the word susukam. For a person who has a prepared mind, it is very easy. In addition to studying the introduction to the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Dr. Gautam Divakar, who is going to lead the session today, will also speak about our scriptures. For students of Vedanta, 3 granthas or 3 texts are very important. They are called Prasthana Trayam. Of these, it will be the principal Upanishads where the commentaries of Adi Shankara and other great acharyas are available, the Bhagavad Gita and the Brahma Sutras. The Vedas are a great gift to mankind. They were received by the great rishis through their special powers. And later it was compiled into the 4 Vedas by Veda Vyas. However, the scriptures are not easy for us to understand. Fortunately, Adi Shankara has written brilliant commentaries on the 10 principal Upanishads, Gita and the Brahma Sutras. Even with those commentaries, it is essential to have a guru who is a Brahmanishta to make us understand these scriptures. Fortunately for us, we have an eminent teacher in Swami Paramarthananda, whose simple explanation makes it easy for us to understand the essence of these shastras. With that background, we will listen to Dr. Gautam Devakar. Dr. Devakar, please.
Thank you, sir. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. The next slide we see. In these DISHA sessions, we now enter the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita named Raja Vidya Raja Guhya Yoga. 9th chapter is in the second Shatkam of Bhagavad Gita, which is from the chapter 7 till the chapter 12. As we already know, second chapter deals with Tat Pada Vichara in the Mahavakya of Tat Tvam Asi. Tat Pada is the Ishvara Swarupa, the nature of the God. The second Shatkam also deals with Upasana Yoga and highlights the importance of the Ishvara Prasada or the grace of the God. In the first Shatkam, which we saw till the 6th chapter, dealt with Tvam Pada Vichara, which is Jiva Swarupa, and it covered Karma Yoga Sadhana and the self-effort or the Prayatna that we have already seen. In the next slide, we will see Bhagavad Gita, being a moksha shastra, teaches Jivan mukti, meaning attaining liberation in this life itself. But the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, as Sir has already told, is very unique as it deals with Krama Mukti. This is aimed at seekers who practice Nishkama Saguna Ishvara Upasana. To those sincere seekers, the preparatory sadhanas of Karma and Upasana Yoga are completed, but for some reasons they are not able to enter or won't enter the Jnana Yoga. Such a sadhaka, on remembering the God at the time of the death, will go to the higher lokas where one completes Jnana Yoga and attains liberation. In the 9th chapter, we come back to the knowledge required for Jivan Mukti, which is the Nirguna Ishvara Jnanam. Krama Mukti, which is going to the higher lokas for moksha, is for the inferior spiritual seekers. A superior spiritual seeker is a mumukshu whose only goal in this life is Jivan Mukti, which is also called as Sadhyo Mukti. A mumukshu will not confine to Saguna Ishvara Upasana all the life. Instead, use Saguna Ishvara, that is the God with the names and forms initially, but spends most of the time on the Nirguna Ishvara Jnanam in this life. Next slide, sir. Nirguna Ishvara Jnanam means Vedanta Shravana Manana Nididhyasanam. As we know already, Shravanam is the systematic study of the scriptures for a period of time under a competent guru. Mananam is clarifying doubts arising while studying studying the scriptures. And Nididhyasanam is the Vedantic contemplative lifestyle of meditating on the learned self-knowledge, which is Jivatma Paramatma Aikya Vichara at all times. Such a Nididhyasaka is a Jivan Mukta who revels with one's own blissful state and leads an effortless life despite the turbulence in the external world. In the next slide, we see the 9th chapter. Krishna primarily concentrates on the Nirguna Ishvara Jnanam and presents this as a means of liberation, which is here and now. And he prescribes Saguna Upasana as a stepping stone to be utilized to enter Nirguna Ishvara Jnanam. 9th chapter is a beautiful and a comprehensive chapter, which is similar to the 7th chapter as already mentioned. Krishna introduces the subject matter in the first 3 verses. Let's look at the verse 1. Atha Navamodhyayaha Rajavidya Rajaguhya Yogaha Shri Bhagavanuvacha Idam Tute Guhyatamam Pravakshamyana Suyave Jnānam vijñāna sahitam Yagnatva mokshase shubhat Shri Bhagavanu Vacha, Shri Krishna said, Pravakshami, I shall impart, I shall teach you, idam jnanam, this jnanam, vijñāna sahitam, along with vijñānam. I shall teach you both jnanam and vijñānam. Here, vijñānam is the higher nature of the God, and jnanam is the lower nature of the God. This is similar to the 7th chapter, which is titled Jnana Vijñāna Yoga, where Shri Krishna calls God's higher nature as Para Prakriti and lower nature as Apara Prakriti. What is Apara Prakriti? This is the God with attributes, Saguna Ishvara, which also includes Vishwarupa Ishvara, the entire universe which is tangible to our sense organs and the mind. Paraprakriti, on the other hand, is the higher principle of the God, which is Nirguna, attributeless, Nirakara, formless, and Nishkalam, indivisible principle. Krishna calls this knowledge Guhyatamam. This is the rarest knowledge which one cannot ordinarily get anywhere. Naturally, when we hear the words like secret, sacred, rare, etc., our attention and curiosity on the topic increases. So Krishna calls for our focused attention, which again highlights in the importance of the teaching. When Sri Krishna says Guhyatamam, this knowledge is rare, it implies that only a few people talk about and get attracted to this highest ancient wisdom, although this knowledge is abundantly available. Again, this gives a sense of appreciation to a sincere seeker, as they are amongst this rare group of people. Arjuna is, of course, amongst this rare sincere seekers. So Krishna starts this teaching even without Arjuna asking any question in this chapter. And why Krishna chooses Arjuna to teach? Krishna gives the reason, Te anusuyave aham pravakshyami. You have got the rarest of qualities which is required for a sincere spiritual student, which is a non-critical mind. Asuya means listening with a critical mind, exclusively to find fault. Paraguneshu dosha avishkaranam is asuya, or to test the subject or the teacher. This can be termed as intellectual arrogance, which is a weakness to learn any new skill or a knowledge. Anusuya means non-critical attitude, open-mindedness. Krishna has emphasized this earlier in the 4th chapter as well. Shraddhavan labate jnanam. Those with Shraddha, the absolute faith, with Anusuya bhava will attain the knowledge. If one is Asuya and is finding faults, the loser is going to be the person and not the scriptures or the guru. Arjuna is Anusuyuhu, an open-minded, sincere seeker. So should be all of us to get the best out of this teaching. What is the best result one gets with this teaching? Krishna declares, Yadgnatva Ashubhat Mokshase. Gaining this knowledge, Mokshase, you will be released. One will be freed from Ashubhat. Ashubham means Amangalam, which means Saṁsāra. One will be liberated from Raga, Dvesha, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. One who is freed from all of these internal enemies is a Jivan Mukta. So the ultimate benefit of gaining this rare and secret knowledge of Jnānam and Vijñānam is Jivan Mukti. The summary of the first verse is, Shri Krishna said, to you who are non-critical, I shall impart this Jnānam along with Vijñānam, which is the greatest secret, and gaining which Jnānam you will be freed from Saṁsāra. In the next slide, we will see the verse 2. Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam Pavitramidam Uttamam Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartum Avyayam. Shri Krishna continues with Jnana Mahima, the glory of this knowledge. He says, Idam, this knowledge is Rajavidya, is the royal knowledge, meaning it is the greatest knowledge amongst all the disciplines of the knowledge. It is the knowledge which deals with the highest Nirguna Swarupam, which is the only reality or the Satyam, whereas all other branches of the knowledge deal with only the changing creation which comes under mithya or maya. This is the only liberating knowledge which will give fulfillment at all levels. We know that worldly material gains are unstable, unpredictable, and unsustainable. Only thing which can give us the lasting stability, predictability, and sustainability is becoming aware and anchoring to this self-knowledge, which reveals one's own real nature, which is Purnatvam. Only this can give the total intellectual satisfaction. Also, this knowledge is Raja Guhyam. This is the greatest secret. The teaching is a great wonder which is not available for most in spite of learning for several years. This was told by Vyasacharya in the verse 2.29. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidenam, ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyaha, ascharyavat chainamanyaha shrunoti, shrutva vedanachaiva kaschit. Everything is a wonder about this ultimate knowledge. The next glory of this wisdom is Pavitram. This is the greatest purifier in the creation, which removes all the impurities, which are in the form of karmas, which is papa and punya karmas. Impurities is in the form of raga, dvesha, kama, krodha. The psychological impurities, and the worst impurity is the ignorance, the atma agnanam. So only this knowledge can dispel the self-ignorance. In the 4th chapter, Krishna said, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitramiha vidyate. So it is not ordinary purifier, it is the greatest purifier, Uttamam Pavitram. This jnanam not only removes the past and the present impurities, but will prevent the future acquisition of any impurities. Such benefits of this jnanam can be directly experienced here and now through Atma Trupti. Manashanti can be experienced directly, which is told in the word Pratyakshavagam. And then this teaching is dharmyam, in keeping with the Vedantic teaching. It is our tradition that our way of life must follow Shruti or Vedic teaching. Any teaching which is based on the Shruti will survive here in India. This is Astika Darshanam. Those who believe in Veda Pramanam, those who do not, that is the Astika Darshanam. Whereas Buddhism is great, but they did not survive in India, as it is the Nastika Darshanam, as they rejected the Veda Pramana. So Krishna is reiterating that these teachings are taken from the Vedas, the Upanishads, and he doesn't claim any originality. The definition of dharma is Vedic teaching. So dharmyam means in keeping with the Vedic teaching. Then susukam kartum, meaning gaining this knowledge and Jivan mukti is far easier and very comfortable than krama mukti, which was dealt in the 8th chapter. To get krama mukti, one has to do saguna ishvara upasana at all times, including at the time of the death. It is told that one has to withdraw all the pranas and the sense organs and bring it to the heart and then force it through the Sushumna Nadi and carefully release it through the Brahmarandra and reach Brahmaloka through Shuklagati and then study all the Jnana Yoga again in the Brahmaloka. These days, no one knows in which road, which ICU or in which gym their prarabdhas end. And then what to talk of these above steps to do before the death. So Krishna says, Krama Mukti is far more difficult than Jivan Mukti. Finally, Avyayam. This knowledge is imperishable in terms of its results. Paladrushya Avyayam, meaning one will get the benefit of the moksha, which is a permanent benefit. Like how a magician attracts everyone's attention through his costumes, talk and gestures before doing any magic trick, Krishna here glorifies the teaching to get Arjuna's full attention so that he benefits the most out of this teaching. To summarize the second verse, this is the greatest knowledge, the greatest secret, and the most sacred and directly attainable which follows the Vedic teaching and very easy to pursue, and it is imperishable. Moving to the verse 3, Ashraddhadhana Purushaha Dharmasyasya Parantapa Aprapyamam Nivartante Mrityu Saṁsāra Vartmani. Krishna says, despite all the glorifications, unfortunately, many people do not resort to this Ishvara Jnanam. Just like how some things which are valuable is considered cheap, and when offered at a throwaway price or given freely, and people think that there is something fishy. Most people don't take up to this highest knowledge which is readily presented. Krishna says, Purushaha ashraddhadhanaha. Many people do not have the shraddha in the efficacy of this teaching. Dharmasya asya ashraddhadhanaha. Here dharma means Brahma Vidya, Ishvara Jnanam. So people do not have the faith in Brahma Vidya. What is going to happen to them? Krishna here sympathizes with them and says, all such people, aprapyamam, they lose the opportunity to attain me. They miss attaining the infinite ananda, meaning they miss the bus to attain moksha. Most people postpone many good things. Some people say, I will come back in the next Janma and study Vedanta. Swami Paramarthananda says, how do we know that the next Janma is going to be Manushya Janma? No such guarantees, as everything is based on our own karma palas. Even if one gets the Manushya Janma, will they have the faculties in the body to study and then get access to a competent guru? There are so many such ifs. So this is a golden opportunity for all of us, taking Manushya Janma and then having the yearning for Brahma Jnanam, which is Mumukshu, and then having the access to a great gurus like Swami Paramarthananda, who is a Mahapurusha, which is such a blessing for all of us. So many people will miss this great opportunity. And then what is going to happen to them? Nivartante nischayena vartante, meaning continued existence in the Mrityu Saṁsāra Vartmani. They remain in the hold of Saṁsāra, which is the external struggle with Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. Worst problem of Saṁsāra is Mrityu, the mortality, which is the greatest source of the fear, which is a permanent source of insecurity throughout the life. Those who miss the bus for moksha will continue to suffer. In the next DISHA session, we will see Krishna teaching the main content of the Ishvara Jnanam in some of the most wonderful verses in the entire Bhagavad Gita. Hari Om. Now we will move on to the next topic, which is on the shastras. Let's look at a bird's eye view of our vast scriptures. This talk is also based on Swami Paramarthanandaji's lectures. Our entire scriptural literature is generally called as shastram. The word shastram is derived from the root shas, which has two meanings. One to command and the other to teach. So shastram means the literature which commands the human beings in the initial stages and then teaches in the later stages. By this shastra, the main purpose is to save the humanity from all the human sufferings and the difficulties. So shastram means shas, to command and teach. Tra means to save. Shasanat trayate iti shastram. That which saves the humanity from the problems by commandment initially and enlightenment in the later stages. Shankaracharya compares shastram to the mother. Mother commands the child initially as the child is immature to understand the significance of commandments, and lets the child grow. When the child grows sufficiently, the commandments are replaced by the teachings, and those teachings can convince a matured adult. Swami Paramarthananda presents the entire scriptural literature in 6 layers or 6 groups. These are Shrutis, Sutra, Smriti, Purana, Itihasa, and Bhashya. In the next slide, we will see the first one, The first and foremost is the Vedantic literature known as the Vedas in general, which is very vast literature. The Vedic literature is divided into 4 groups: Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvana Veda. The very word Veda means a mine of information, the source of knowledge. Its root word is vid, which is to know. Rigveda has Rig mantras, which are in the form of metrical composition, the poetic composition, or Padya composition. Yajurveda has Yajur mantras, which are in the form of prose or Gadya composition. Samaveda consists of mantras which are in the form of music. It is said that all the Indian music is derived from the Samaveda. Therefore, chanting of Samaveda is also called as Samaganam. Atharvana Veda consists of mantras which are mostly given by Atharva Rishi and Angirasa Rishi. The word mantra is used only for the Vedic composition, and there are more than 20,000 such Veda mantras which are available. Mantra is meant for inquiry, analysis, and assimilation. Mananat trayate iti mantram. They are meant for mananam. Trayate means it will protect us if we inquire into that. Even mere repetition of the mantra, the meditation of the mantra is capable of helping a person. The next question is, who is the author of Vedas? In our tradition, we look upon the Vedas as the revelation from the Lord himself. Vedas are said to be not the products of the human intellect. They are apaurisheya. God reveals the Vedas to humanity through the media called as rishis. Rishis are the intermediaries who receive the knowledge and transmit through the mantras. Swamiji jokingly says, "Resivate iti rishihi," but rishi is derived from the word rish, which also means to know. Rishati jñānati iti rishi. Rishis, because of their extreme sattva guna and very subtle intellect, were very sensitive for receiving mantras. Therefore, rishis are remembered and worshipped before chanting Veda mantras. Vedas were transmitted and received in Shabda Rupa. Vedas were not written. For a very long time, it existed only in the Shabda Rupa. Therefore, there is no specific script for Sanskrit. Rishis too transmitted this knowledge to their disciples through Karna Parampara, which means through hearing. Therefore, Vedas are also called as Shruti, which is the first layer. All Vedas has Veda Purva Bhaga. And this Veda Purva Bhaga is further classified into 3 parts, which is Samhita, which has got the prayer mantras, Brahmana, which is used for the Karma Yoga, Aranyaka, which is used for the Upasana Yoga, and finally Vedanta or Upanishads, which is used for the Jnana Yoga. In the next slide, we will see the sutras. Sutra means aphorisms, means a cryptic statement which contains a lot of ideas in a capsule form. Sutras consist of Vedic teaching in a codified clarification form. This is to rearrange the scattered literature of vast information according to its topics. For example, Dharma Sutras deals with individual values, individual growth, etc. Sutras give clarity on seemingly contradictory statements. Sutras also mean a thread. Vedic topics are like flowers. Thread, the sutras, brings these similar flowers and makes it into a wonderful garland. One of the very popular sutras, of course, is Brahma Sutra. In the next slide, we will see the Smritis. Smritis are generally in the form of poems. The very word Smriti means it is a remembered wisdom. After studying Vedas and Sutras, learned rishis presented the same knowledge in an elaborate, magnified form called as Smritis. Smritis gives more clarity of the Sutras and the Shruti. Some of the well-known Smritis are Manusmriti, Yajnavalkya Smriti, Parashara Smriti, etc. Like Sutras, Smritis are also Paurusheya, meaning they are human composition with divine content. It is only Shruti or the Vedas which is divine, both in content as well as composition. Bhagavad Gita is a Smriti. The fourth layer, which we will see in the next slide, is Puranas. Puranas are further expanded literature of the previous layers. If Smriti is 1:10, Puranas are 1:100. The word Purana means Pura Api Navaha. Pura means ancient, Navaha means ever fresh and relevant. So Purana means very ancient yet very relevant even for 21st century. Purana literature is in poetic form and gives a lot of clarity through elaborations of previous scriptural layers. Puranas are more popular because the Vedic content is presented as concrete stories. For example, to teach Satyameva Jayate Nanratam of Mundakopanishad, an elaborate Harishchandra Purana, the story of Harishchandra is talked about. Similarly, story of Rama, Nachiketa are given to elaborate with Pitrudevo Bhava. Most of the Puranas are written by Vyasacharya. He is known for Ashtadasha, 18 Puranas, and the Upapuranas, another 18 Upapuranas. Bhagavata Purana is, of course, very popular. There is a shloka to remember these 18 Puranas. Madhvayam Bhadvayam Chaiva Puratrayam Va Chatushtayam Anapalinga Kuskani Puranani Pratah. Two Puranas starting from Ma, which is Matsya Purana, Markandeya Purana, two from Bha, and so on. The details are there in this slide. And the next, we will see the Itihasa, which literally means history-based literature. Ithi means thus, in this way. Ha means definitely or doubtlessly. Asa means it occurred, took place. Itihasa means thus doubtlessly it took place. We have two Itihasas, Ramayana written by Valmiki and later by so many other people, Mahabharata by Vyasacharya. Ramayana has 24,000 verses and Mahabharata has over 1 lakh verses. Both of these epics convey the same core message of Vedas only. In the next slide, we will see the final layer of the literature, which is Bhashyam, means the commentaries written by the great Acharyas on all the above layers. Acharyas at different eras have given elaborate commentaries and simplified commentaries to assist the seekers of that particular time. And there are various sub-commentaries and sub-commentaries by the subsequent Acharyas, which has only made our scriptures extremely profound, vast, and available to all of us. Great Acharyas such as Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya have written commentaries on many Vedic literature. Of particular interest is the Bhagavad Gita and the 10 main Upanishads, albeit with slight differences in their final interpretation. In the next slide, we see, and there are many Prakarana Granthas written by several gurus to give more clarity and dispel any doubts in the self-knowledge. We are indeed so blessed that we are getting a glimpse of all this sacred wisdom, sacred and ancient wisdom, and this ultimate knowledge which is required for self-realization. And we must be grateful for all the Acharyas, all the Guru Parampara, for the knowledge that we are receiving today. Hari Om Onde Guru Parampara. Namaste.
Thank you very much, Dr. Divakar, for doing a full justice to the topic allotted to you. You began by giving us a very nice introduction to the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And if after listening to you, and Sri Krishna also gives a very glorious introduction, which makes us commit that we will study this chapter once again, because this chapter talks about the true nature of God. So if I'm able to understand the higher nature of God, which normally Sri Krishna is a great secret. You also explain what is the meaning of Raja Vidya and Raja Guhyam. For an unprepared mind, it will always remain a secret. But if a person has gone through a certain preparation, it becomes easy to understand. Why is it called Raja Vidya? Because it is a liberating knowledge. It is called a great knowledge. One important criteria that we all need to have is the quality of Shraddha. Shraddha means what my Guru says, what the scriptures say is 100% true. Even if it does not agree with my experience or with my logic, it may take me some time to be able to understand. And with that kind of a mind, if I'm not critical, and if I'm able to look into the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, I have a tremendous amount of learning opportunity once again. You also gave us a very good introduction to the whole gamut of the scriptural literature, primarily the Vedas. So all our knowledge is based on the Vedas. And for those of us, the focus has been the Vedanta, the later portion of the Vedas, which are also called the Upanishads. Is the Veda Purva important? Certainly important, because the Veda Purva deals with the Karma Kanda part, which deals with Karma Yoga, and also about the Upasanas, which gives us Jnana Yogyata. The Vedas are Anadi. They have been there from the very beginning, revealed to us by these rishis, which help us to lead a life to fulfill all our Purusharthas, Artha, Kama, Dharma, and Moksha. The same Vedas later on highlight the limitations of the earlier 3 Purusharthas. That means Dharma, Artha, and Kama have dukkha mishritam atriptikaratvam, and they cause bondage. So the Vedas now look, is there a goal which is free from all these defects? And the goal now, they tell us, is the highest goal, the Parama Purushartha or Moksha. And this is possible by, again, from a higher nature of God as seen in the 9th chapter, which is the essence of all the Upanishads. So the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence of all the Upanishads, help us to work for Parama Purushartha or Moksha. We had a nice introduction to the shastras, primarily the Vedas. From the Vedas, we have in cryptic form, easy to remember, the sutras. A little bit elaboration, human composition are the smritis. From the story form, we have the Puranas and the Itihasas. Even as these are difficult to understand, great masters have given us their bhashyams. Now, what we normally call bhashyams can be classified under 4 categories. What are the 4 categories? Vritti. Vritti means a brief commentary in verse form. Vartikam is the commentary in a more elaborate form. Whenever there is a commentary, which we normally say bhashyam, remember, technically or traditionally, it should be confined only to sutras. That means if somebody is writing an elaborate commentary on the sutras, then they are called bhashyam. If somebody like Adi Shankara is writing an elaborate commentary on the Gita or on the Upanishads, they should be called vijñānam. But then we traditionally call all of them as bhashyam only. Before we start any book, whenever we buy a book from the bookshop, we tend to turn to the back page to see who is the author, what is the content of this book, and so on. Now, in all our granthas, there is a certain tradition called Anubandha Chatusthaya. What is Anubandha Chatusthaya? The 4 things that before you start studying any text are Adhikari, that means for whom is this meant? What is the necessary qualification of a person who can study this particular text? Second is called Vishaya, the subject matter. The third is called Prayojan. What benefit do I can expect? And fourth is called Sambandha. What is the connection between the knowledge and the benefit that I'm going to get? I will conclude my my commentary on the talk by Dr. Divakar by emphasizing on the Prakarana Granthas. The Prakarana Granthas have been written by great masters who have now simplified and made the same teaching available in a more systematic and digestible form, which we had studied like Tattva Bodha, Viveka Chudamani, and Manisha Panchaka. Additionally, similar books, similar texts with a lot of examples is the Atma Bodha. The Vakya Vritti deals predominantly with all the Mahavakyas, and Vidyaranya Swami has given us 15-volume Panchadashis, and these are some of the texts which we propose to have in the Param Vedanta classes. We will now have our teaching quiz, which will be conducted by Nilima. Nilima, please.
What is the highest knowledge?
Brahma Vidya is the highest knowledge.
Correct. Next question. Qualification of Brahma Vidya?
The main qualification is Chitta Shuddhi.
Correct. Next question. How can one sail through Saṁsāra?
Through Atma Jñānam, self-knowledge.
Correct. By gaining knowledge of Atma or Brahma. Next question. Method of getting liberation in an indirect manner is?
Indirect manner, Krama Mukti.
Correct. Krama Mukti. Saguna Ishvara Jnana is also called?
Apara Vidya.
Correct. Apara Vidya. Next question. Direct method of getting liberation is?
Direct method is Jivan Mukti.
Sadhyo Mukti or Jivan Mukti. Correct. Nirguna Ishvara Jnana is called?
Nirguna is Paravidya.
Correct. Paravidya. Stages of Jnana Yoga.
3 stages, Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam.
Correct. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Brahma Vidya or Nirguna Ishvara Jnanam is?
Royal knowledge and secret knowledge.
Yes.
Rajavidya and Rajaguhyam.
Rajaguhyam, the greatest secret. Rajavidya, the greatest knowledge. Both A and B. Shruti is also called?
Veda, Apaurushaya, Upanishads, all the above.
Yes, all the above. Correct. Between Smriti and Shruti, which is superior?
Shruti is superior.
Correct. Shruti. How many itihasas are there? What are they?
2 itihasas, Ramayana and Mahabharata.
Valmiki Ramayana and Mahabharata. How many Puranas are there?
18.
18. Correct. Next question. How many Agamas are there? What are their names?
Shaiva and Vaishnava, I'm not sure.
Shaiva, Vaishnava, Shakta.
3.
3.
3.
Okay. How many Darshana Shastras are there? Name them.
6 darshanas, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Purvamimamsa and Uttaramimamsa.
Okay, correct.
Nyaya by Gautama.
Gautama, Vaisheshika, Kanada Kashyaparishi, Sankhya, Kapila Muni, Yoga Darshana, Maharshi Patanjali, Purva Mimamsa, Jaimini, Uttara Mimamsa, Badarayana. Jai Guru.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nilima, for a well-prepared quiz, and Dr. Divakar for a wonderful session. Thank you, Hegde sir, for your unique introduction and discussion on the topic, as always. And thank you, friends, for your participation and valuable feedback. Friends, In response to our call on 2nd December on the Gita Jayanti session, many of you have sent your Guru Dakshina. For those of you who are yet to do so, the mode of payment to the account is displayed on the screen. It will also be sent to you in the Telegram group. I must add that the decision of offering an amount is purely voluntary and there is no compulsion at all. As you are aware, our classes are totally free and your entire contributions will be offered at the lotus feet of our Gurus. Details of such offerings will be shared with you all. We will log in for our verse by verse Bhagavad Gita session 126 on 9th December to continue our study of chapter 17. Please log in at 6:45 p.m. sharp Friday. Thank you. Let us conclude with our usual Shanti mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.